I read your latest piece on ESPN.com. It's remarkable. Your reporting, as always, is spot on with detail. What are the conversations right now in the NBA front offices Adam Silver having right now here on May the 1st, 2020 about this upcoming season, best you can tell?
Well, thanks, Rich. The conversations are so wide-ranging. There's so many layers to trying to play again this season, but also playing again this season in context with what next season looks like and the following season. Because if you push back the start of next season, you're essentially probably pushing back the start of the following season. And so what kind of calendar do you want to get on? Is that a one-year thing? If they don't play this year, might they still move next year's start back anyway to buy more time, to be able to get fans in arenas, to buy more time in a lot of areas? And if they play this season, how do they play? Where do they play? Do they just go right to the playoffs? Do they have some regular season left? Do they do a play-in tournament? There's so many scenarios and contingencies, and many of them, Rich, I think really are built around how many days they have to work with. And initially, they had hoped in a resumed season, they had hoped to have it wrapped up by essentially Labor Day weekend, start of football season, that first weekend in September. Mm-hmm. And as time has gone on, they're more open, or they're open to pushing it further if they need to. If that means they can get the playoffs finished, and they want to be able to crown a champion. That's important to them. And but they've also got to have a champion that comes out of a representative process, playoffs. It's got to have legitimacy to it, and so that's the fine line, because you're going to have to compromise in lots of ways. No fans, maybe shorter playoff series, maybe you don't have a best of seven, maybe you do. There's so many different, and I think what they're trying to do is, I had a quote in the story from another executive in the league who's talking about Adam's challenge and just how difficult it is to lead in a crisis by consensus. And I think there's consensus that everybody wants to play, and that's important for the league to play, even though for some individual teams who are not going to be in the playoffs. I mean, Steve Kerr said the other day,
yep,
we're operating as if we're done, and there really isn't any motivation for them to want to play a few more games or do a mini camp and then play a few regular season games and be done. But it's important for the league that they resume, and certainly financially, there's benefits to playing for some teams. There's benefits to getting the players' money back with canceled games. And so lots of agendas, and a commissioner right now, Rich, who's got to help everybody to put them all aside and look at what is right for the league as a whole, because like every professional league, every business, every industry, this isn't a one-year challenge. This is a multi-year challenge for all of these, and specifically speaking, professional leagues and the NBA.
Yeah, because delaying the start of the next season to December is what maybe some owners in the league would like to do or have been pushing to do for a long time. So it might actually dovetail into a consensus, Woj, and the fact that, again, that's what all commissioners do, is they try to lead via consensus. And in that respect, though, even just the issue of this date of May 1st and what it would mean in terms of opening up facilities, and according to your reporting, that was difficult to even gain a consensus on that, to the point where there was a little bit of a can kick, correct, on that front?
Right. They moved the date from May 1st to May 8th, and they had told some teams over last weekend, we'll do it the 1st. And among those teams who could have opened on the 1st based on their state loosening stay-at-home regulations, the Atlanta Hawks, Atlanta decided, we're not ready to do that. We don't feel comfortable doing it. We want to see what happens within our state with the loosening of the restrictions. We want to see, what does it do to cases in this state? Does it create a spike? Do cases of the virus go up? We want to see what it looks like in our region, our community, before we open back up. So we're going to wait a couple of weeks. Now, Atlanta's a team that's not going to be in the playoffs, and there's a different urgency for the Atlanta Hawks than, say, the Lakers, who want to win a championship, the Clippers, Philly, Milwaukee. These are all certainly teams that have a lot at stake, would like to see the season resumed, who want to make a run in the playoffs. But I will say this, Rich, in talking with teams and executives and owners, safety has been foremost. Like, of course, there's the competitive juices and people want to win. But I think that no one wants to put people in it. There's always going to be risk, and there'll be risk whenever they return. But you remember, it's not just the players. You've got coaches in their late 60s, early 70s around players. You have staff that's older and people who might be more vulnerable in the environment. And they've got to account for all of that.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.